All right. Welcome, everybody, to an early start of Gatekeepers, Episode 2. I really hope that everybody is ready for the game talk tonight. Tonight's discussion will be primarily, we are going to be chatting up and about. Hey, Max, how you doing? Let me get you an invite, my friend. So while I talk here, we are doing a discussion tonight on one of my favorite topics, which is miniatures in gaming. Miniatures in gaming is very important to me, but I'm kind of curious, and I want to know other people's discussions about that. And for those of you that are in the, God, I hate to say this, the Cool Kids Club, the Gatekeepers live stream links, it is in there right now. I expect to see Max popping in. If for not very long, I understand. Hale, how are you?
Oh, hold on. There we go. I had the YouTube stuff on.
Okay. I just wanted to see how this would start off, and I was seeing things popping up, and let me get some people in here as everybody starts to filter in. Welcome, Mr. GM Fritz.
Oh, I finally get to be on a show with them.
How is everybody?
Yeah, fantastic. How you doing?
I cannot complain. I hope I don't have an echo going on. I'm
getting an echo.
You are?
I'm hearing myself. I don't know if it's on my end or.
I've got headsets. It can't be me. Yes. Max didn't break it.
Okay, how about now? Hey,
Yes.
Baron G Rock, you still hear the echo?
I'm still hearing it. Test.
Okay, go through your tabs and make sure your YouTube is shut off.
Yeah, that would be my mistake. Yeah, it was going in the background. See, I'm not used to doing this. I'm usually running these things. But yeah, you're right. It was me. But okay.
It's okay. Okay.
Pop out chat.
Hey, Bruce, since you guys are going to be ganging up on me, go ahead and drag GM Fritz on top and just put me on the bottom since y'all going to be punching down anyway.
Wow.
There we go.
Wow.
Terrible. Well, I don't know about you guys. We had a small discussion in the Gatekeepers channel, and I think everybody needs to talk about decorum in the live streams. That was a really good point. But I wish to toast to everybody that's involved with tonight's chat. For those that are not here for any reason whatsoever, this is also for them as well. And so, prost to you. Thank you so much for showing up.
Kampai.
So, as we're going to talk a little bit about the gaming, and primarily the thing that unites this channel is the fact that a lot of us run games, and a lot of us do that. Garrett, we're going to need to get you a link into the Gatekeepers, buddy, because I know you run games for 5e and for every other game out there, and that's perfectly fine. I don't care what game you play. What I care about is, do you game? Do you relax with friends and have a good time? Do you not force them to your mode of thinking? That's all I care about.
Are you streaming on Twitch as well or no?
Negative.
All right.
If you want to get some points on Twitch and you want to, I think Garrett might. I don't know. But if you guys want to echo this, you have my blessing. I'm not that popular of a DM, but if you need watch hours and your channel gets them for echoing a stream, please go ahead and do that. I receive no money from Twitch or Justin TV. I'm not interested in that. It's nothing I want.
No, as far as I'm concerned, your show, man. How you handle it, That's good with me.
Well, I'm just giving the blessing out there. If people wish to do that, I'm perfectly happy with that. I don't know if there's going to be more players involved with this. Garrett, let me get you an invite. Hold on, because I know you run games. I've been in your vicinity before. I miss you. He used to be a local for the Peoria friends of mine. There he is. All right. Garrett, if you so wish to choose and join us, please click that link I just sent you. Anyway, so I'm not worried about what game you play. I don't care if you play 5e or Pony Finder or original Beckme, BX, Moldvay. I don't care if you have the notes from Dave Arneson, although I really want to copy them. But my interest in gaming is with the miniatures, and you can kind of see that.
Yikes.
Yeah, and this is just the work desk. This isn't the finished shelves.
And then you got about 6 inches of painting space.
Yeah, enough for my hands to hold something right here, and that's all that really matters.
Yep, that's it. That's all you need.
I just and whenever I get on a live stream, I typically will paint, and so I probably will be painting as this one develops. But the miniatures came about because of it was something that somebody started doing in their garage, and you had companies pop up in the basic and first edition era. You had Grenadier, Ralpartha, you had Thunderbolt miniatures. You had all these really big foundations in our grouping. And then in the 80s, there was a little company out of Britain that started a game, and it kind of got popular, and it's really overpriced now, but I don't talk about Warhammer. But I love the miniatures because I love putting them on the table, if for nothing else, just for the stupid wow factor.
Mm-hmm.
And they've gotten better through time. You'll see these. This is a WizKids figure. I believe this is a Reaper. Reaper? Yeah, Reaper fig.
I love Reaper.
I do too. I have a ton of Reaper.
Oh. Yeah, whatever. Move on.
Reaper Fire Giants. Reaper Fire Giants. I fucking love miniatures. I think a game isn't complete without them. But if people want to run as Theater of the Mind, they're perfectly okay to do that. Hey, Garrett, how you doing?
What up?
Man, we're having a Gatekeeper meeting tonight, and I know you run games, so I wanted to bring you in here because I
never.
I know. This is Garrett. He's one of Max's. I didn't realize that you guys kind of knew each other when I first got into the Legion.
Actually, I think I met him through you.
Really?
Yeah. I met him through your channel.
Wow.
I think this is the first time he's ever, face-to-face type, face-to-face talk. But yeah,
I know we shouted out your channel with our 5 viewers, so.
Yep. Hey, I'm all right with that.
We have 6 now.
Woohoo!
You guys know I'm going to run with miniatures. Before I open this up a little bit further, let me just quickly go in. GM Zalkov.
Yep.
Are you in the Gatekeepers Discord?
I think so. Let me double check.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in there.
I want to make sure that he's got an invite to this because he's one of the people that you were talking about. And you wanted to be in the same, at least have the two of us in the same stream. But you wanted to have that.
You're asking if I'm in the Gatekeepers, the Discord channel server?
Mr. Fritz, I know you from the Legion of Myth stream. I don't know you from.
I'm in the Gatekeepers. I'm right in there. GM Fritz.
Yeah, he was invited in right away.
Yes,
I know.
Good deal. Because you're new to me, and that's. I'm happy you're here tonight. I really am.
Well, I'm happy too.
I'll shut up.
One big happy family.
I don't know about happy family, but We are definitely verbal. GM Zalkov, thank you. Shadzar's in here, of course. Shadzar's, God, I love having Shadzar in my. I know some people will
So do
have.
I. He was in my stream all day today. Well, right till the very end. My sheds are good times.
He's great. He will instigate conversation.
Yep.
If nothing
Instigate
else.
more than that.
Well,
Instigated a ban on my Discord.
Oh,
I mean,
goodness.
we get along outside Legion Myth Discord.
Indigo Dragon, hey, how you doing? This character here, this guy used to be in the Paizo forums a lot when Paizo was steamrolling 4th edition. I recognize that name, and that guy, he's a very nice GM. He's a very nice man.
Indigo Dragon?
Yeah.
Never heard of him. I just lost 10 more viewers of my 6. You can do the math on that one.
In chat,
There we
I
go.
got the linkage for GM Fritz on Twitch.
I was even stalking today from work. Got my phone down to 4%.
Wow.
Yeah, there you were. Right.
Either that or I had to listen to work crap.
But I'm going to start with GM Fritz because he's. I'll hit Max. I'll talk to you last on this topic.
Of course, because you're all going to just start punching. I can feel it. I've got padded walls here. I'm ready to go. I was going to wear bubble wrap.
Oh, okay, fine. Let me ask you, Max.
Oh no! Oh God,
Max, I'm going to ask you. How do you feel about miniatures at a gaming table?
I love miniatures.
Okay. Do you use them for your games, or do you primarily?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I do use them for my games. So here's going to be the main difference. And oh, GM Fritz, I heard everything today, buddy. No, it's all good fun. I actually do like miniatures at my table. My problem is not with the miniatures. It's twofold. Number one, the people who have miniatures and lord them over everybody. I spent $18,000 on my miniatures. I'm a real gamer. Go fuck yourself.
I'll shut up here.
And then no, if you have them, you have them. That's great. I love looking at them, especially when you paint them well. No, I accept all that. There's that part. And then the other part of it is I don't like games that rely on them. I cannot stand Pathfinder and D&D 5th edition or 3rd edition when it comes down to the whole thing. It's like, and I talked about it in Aaron the Pedantic's stream yesterday where it's like, hold on. If I stand right here, and the enemy's 5 feet away, I can throw my fireball right there and it'll hit the enemy, but not my friend. How the fuck do you know that? A baseball player can't throw exactly 120 feet without having some sort of marker. You don't know that. Screw that. It's a game.
So you're talking more, you don't really hate the forcing of the miniatures, but you hate the construct of the rules forcing us to use a fucking battle mat.
Yes.
Okay.
That is absolutely 100%. I use miniatures. Matter of fact, I kind of put them down there. I have my Dungeon Master Dungeon Train. Might not be able to see that one, but this one, I have this one over here next to the cat's gone now. But I use that kind of terrain because I play a lot of Forbidden Lands, or I do sometimes play Forbidden Lands. And my miniatures look like this because I'm lazy and F y'all who can paint and I can't. So I have a folder full of Arknight miniatures.
Mm-hmm. Nothing wrong with that.
So.
That works. It works. I'm not going to gripe about it. Even if your game uses theater of the mind, I'm not going to gripe about that. That's not a hindrance.
Hey, Shadzar, that's because they have markers. They have rangefinders. That's how they can do that. If you ask a golfer to stand out in somebody's backyard with hills and valleys and so forth and say, hit it exactly 300 yards, no, it's not going to happen.
They're not going to do it. As much as I'd like to see,
it might be 280 or 320. Pretty close, better than what I could do because I'll be hitting 5 yards or 3 yards behind me. But they're not going to hit it right on. That's my point. It's that 5 foot thing. It's like all of a sudden the miniatures are like or the other one.
Precision. The precision of the battle mat is what messes you up as far as appreciating a miniatures enhanced tabletop game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And I don't mean to step on you. I'm sorry about that.
No, it's all.
Bad habit.
Hey, I wouldn't have come here if.
True. Hey, Parrothead. He's a good guy from the fellowship that I follow. The media rippers, as I call them. Calvin Vayon. What's his last name? Vanani. Paisan. Got some Arcanite and skinny minis too, but I can paint too. Awesome.
Oh, look at me, double trouble right there.
Yeah, I'm just worried whenever Shadzar starts talking about like the stuff he's got from his old gaming life, because 20 years ago I didn't collect miniatures. I was looking for books. I was trying to get my collection to its completion. He's been in the game for a while.
Shadzar was, when the person next to him was making papyrus for paper, he was out there making the clay tablets for miniatures.
Okay, but you'll use like if a system allows you to just use like a tape measure, and it has the simple rule of declare first, then measure. You would like that, wouldn't you?
Me?
You would use that, wouldn't you, Max?
I mean, if I'm playing a miniatures game, something like BattleTech, Heavy Gear, the games that shall not be mentioned, yes, because I feel those games are set up for it. If I'm playing Dungeons and Dragons, Earth Dawn, Palladium, no, I put them on the map board, and everything's abstract, so people have a... Oh, all right, we took over Bruce's stream. Yes.
All right. Excellent.
I'll put it on there as the
You probably hit a wrong button.
Yeah. He's drinking. But I put them on for the abstract, and so in relation to other people and other things where you are. But if somebody says, "Well, it looks like I'm a half a millimeter away from this person," then that person's like, "No, shut up." Just this is where people are on the map. Use your mind, use your imagination, and hopefully through the discussion, or not even discussion, hopefully through my narration of what's happening at that time, through what the players say at the table, like I want to be about right here, I want to go there, I want to hide behind the table, I want to slam the door in his face, whatever it happens to be, that's represented.
I like that idea.
To you, there's a clear distinction between a miniatures game,
yes,
and a role-playing game. There's no meshing together. They are separate and distinct.
I mean, not 100, not 0, 100. But again, I'm using the minis. But the minis are an abstraction. I'm more on the theater of mind, side of it. Again, how you play your games is how you play your games. I'm for it. I mean, I've watched Bruce play with his mini. Actually, I've interrupted Bruce about as many times as I've interrupted you during your paint streams. If that's how people enjoy it, that's how people enjoy it. I just do it differently when I game master. This is why I don't do online games. I don't sit down to game master much unless I'm tired or I have to be behind the screen. I'm standing up. I'm in that. Here you go, Shads. Are you ready for it? You ready for it, Shadzar? Clip it. Get ready, because I'm about to say it. I believe that playing role-playing games is acting without a script. Okay, we did it again. I believe that playing role-playing games is acting without a script. Ding. So. No, that's so I get more involved in that side of it. I'm not a LARPer. I don't do the whole White Wolf craziness. We're all having sex parties, playing Vampire the Masquerade, and so forth. But I do like to be energetic when I'm a game master for as much as I can.
I can agree with that. I prefer to stand up at a table, but since I started doing home games, I don't really do that a whole lot because I've got to be. I want to have myself within 3 foot, 4 foot of the microphone. And that usually entails sitting down.
I disagree with TW there. Characters that I left without minis, because typically when I run them basically no minis. I am more, I guess we would call the storyteller. Yeah. I explain everything. I had one guy that decided he was going to dimensional step onto the back of a wyvern and then fail, and they're 500 foot up in the air, and he failed all 3 of his checks and fell off of said wyvern into a body of water. My first and only kill is a DM. First and only kill is a DM. But
Really?
yeah, yep.
Wow.
I come close several times, but they've pulled it out. So,
Apparently,
but
I'm
yeah,
like the Mongol hordes over here. I've killed everybody.
oh no. That's Bruce. I don't know. My wife, God bless her. He about once a month he would kill her with tentacles and fire. Tentacles and fire. Yep, tentacles and fire.
It was like an anime when Donna Leah was there. It was like she just would instigate a situation where tentacles or fire would kill her. She was squeezed or burned more than I'd say most witches in the 16th century. It was great. Sorry.
So can I ask a question? Oh, sorry, go on. It's your time.
No.
Well, the question was, since you guys like minis, my question was going to be, well, I mean, I already know the answer from Jim's Alcove, but I'd still like to hear from him. Do you guys play your miniature? Do you add any role playing into your miniature games? Here's my example. When I play BattleTech, we try to stick with the lore of the game. And we'll actually have our pilots act like pilots, not just game stats on the map. If I've got a mech that has that I'm limping without any weapons and so forth, it's ejection time. It's not like, oh, let's see what I can do with the. So so do you incorporate some of those aspects into your minis games, or is it just purely tactical?
Did you ever play the Reaper game Warlord?
If you're asking me, I played BattleTech, Heavy Gear, and Warhammer Fantasy. Done.
In the Reaper games, in their textbooks, they would ask you, why do role-playing games need miniatures for the game? It seems like you're trying to play two games at once. We recommend that you play Theater of the Mind for those wonderful Theater of the Mind games, but it's not a bad thing if you're playing a miniature game and as you're trying to roll a defense or an offensive action for a figure on the table, break out into some activity that would make people think that for a moment you're trying to think like a figure on the table. It's okay. Do it. And they would encourage that. So when I played Necromunda and I played Mordheim after I read that book, I would typically try to get into the character's head, and most of the time I was shut down because of poor die rolls. That usually happens for me. In fact, if you ever want somebody to just beat up in BattleTech, I'll be more than happy to play a face-to-face BattleTech with the hex maps with you, Max. I have no problem with that. I never have in 23 years I won a BattleTech game. So I'm a good squid bag.
I usually lose to people I'm teaching to play.
Garrett, what else do you do anything else with the figures that you have at your table?
It all depends. It depends on the situation. I mean, if you have a very large scale battle that you're doing where it's, I want to say army wise, then yeah, you set out the miniatures and you just, give them an idea. This is where it is and go with it. But for, encounters like you're going through a dungeon, I tend to do more of the just explaining it. I find that it for me and also for my players, it tends to be more fun.
I find it keeps it moving as well. When you get into that tactical side of it, you start having turns. And I know, let's be fair, you roll initiative, you have turns anyway. But it turns out, if I move here, I can do that. But if I move here, I can do this. Instead of like, all right, I need to get to the door and I need to do these things. Once I get to the door, I want to turn around. I want to, fire an arrow into them. Okay, well, that's going to be a -2 because you moved a little bit. These things that you can just kind of whip out on the fly as a dungeon master. Again, not that there's anything wrong with minis playing. That's just, I prefer, I guess, like what you were saying, that style of let's just keep it interactive that way.
And I have been in games, and I will fully admit that a couple of them were Bruce's, where we had what we like to call the min maxers.
We had some great min maxers. I will
Oh
say
God!
that we
They
survived because of those guys.
This is true. Until I can never die in the next week 3 nat 20s. That was the best one ever. But where we would set up for battle, and then 3-4 hours later we're still in that same battle, and it just drags and drags because you have people that are trying to figure out what like you were saying. Well, if I do this instead of reactionary, I guess is the best way to put it. Reactionary to what are you going to do? What would my character do? How am I going to pull not only my butt but all my party members' butts out of this fire type of thing.
TW, it really depends on what game you're playing, because like Pathfinder or most versions of D&D are slow combats. They really are. It for some odd reason.
But they're precision combats comparatively.
They are. Whereas a player that is in a fantasy roleplay Warhammer campaign with a measuring tape and a pair of D percentile dice and a D6, that game progresses so much faster. You roll to hit. If you hit, reverse the die results. That's your location. Roll a D6 for damage. Add your strength, any magical effects. The poor sap that you got, his armor, subtracts that, and then it takes out of the wounds. If you drop him to below 0 wounds, you have a percentage roll you have to make and see what critical hit happened. That's it. But yeah, I'll agree with you. Most mini games with RP elements take a lot longer.
I just realized something. There you go. These are protective glasses. Mine don't have to be ruby red, but is both GM Fritz and you run Pathfinder. Is there something different about the Pathfinder system that makes it better than say 3, or do you guys just? I mean, yeah, I'll just leave it at that. I mean.
Well, he runs
I would say
edition. I run second edition. So, and there's a quite a big difference, especially with combat. I play both, and second edition is definitely faster than first edition.
Yeah, first ed, what it did is it basically at our table we call it 3.75. But seriously, because what they did is they took the oh my god amount of skills that you have, and they condensed them down. They made it easier to understand. And it was because I've even played in games since I was in a Gestalt game for a while where we were using 3-5 classes. Well, we're using basically, but 3-5 classes, but we were using Pathfinder skills because the simplification.
First edition Pathfinder for me is just where my players are comfortable. They will change when they find the game they want to play. But we looked at Pathfinder second ed, and it wasn't the game for us. We looked at a lot of games, and
it's too fast.
Well, no, my issue is I did GM a game of second ed.
Mm-hmm.
And my issue I had is I was actually going off of the module because I wanted to go ahead and run our modules just so I could familiarize myself a little bit better. And typically the modules have everything broke down for you. And when your first fight is a fire method inside of a building, and you have to factor in smoke inhalation, all this other stuff, I almost killed the entire party outright just from that fire method. And and basically it was, and then I just said, okay, you know what? I'm just going to take this. We've already got the characters. I took it and I transported them to the Phalanx. They full on met. They full on, met the Nab, the Winter Queen, and her knight.
Oh,
her knight who had a hockey stick and a duster.
I wonder.
I went full on with it, and they actually seemed to enjoy that better than what we were doing with the actual module. So,
how many times have you ran a module and your players aren't into it, but you run a freeform game and your players all of a sudden snap to, and they start getting into the actual fact that you're improvising and you're breathing life into the characters around them?
Many times.
Okay. GM Fritz, I want to talk to you a little bit about Pathfinder. You do second ed, right?
Mm-hmm. 2E.
How has it affected your table? Did you find the group of players that they glommed onto it and they're into it? They're not going to get out of it. They're in this game to the end? Or do you feel like, I hate feeling like the DM sometimes, like you're the only DM in town and these guys sometimes they're not into the game 100%. That happens. But these players you've got for second ed, they realize it's a new system. Are they really digging it?
Well, I'm pretty fortunate. One player, including myself, are coming from first edition Pathfinder.
Okay.
Now, the other players, of which there's about 5, are brand new to Pathfinder, period. So I was fortunate because of that. They're not coming from another system or, in some cases, no experience with role-playing games. And what I did, I started what I call a learning campaign, and we started off with the beginner's box, as you should, really, with Pathfinder. And we started playing that. It was great fun. I started getting them hooked on the system and the mechanics that is Pathfinder. And at this point, we're continuing on, and I've got them running through Abomination Vaults with a lot of little side adventures and characters that I throw in as well. I don't play it strictly as an adventure path is written. And they're having a blast. Now, that said, I did say to them the one day, I said, you know what, let's change it up and let's play some D&D rule cyclopedia, some Beckme. And just about every one of them was like, nah, not interested. And my one player was so off about it. It says, nah, my brain hurts. I can't play another game. So I'll take a break. I won't play anything.
Wow.
And I said, okay, well, let's keep playing what we're doing then. It was just an idea, just a little break for me. That didn't work. So yeah, I think they're really hooked on it, which is good because it's probably my favorite game. Yes, Max, I said that. But yeah, that's the where it is right now.
Why is everybody picking on me?
Because you're here.
Pathfinder's always been a miniature-centric game, first or second ed. And we're not picking on you, Max. If you want to run more theater of the mind with miniatures involved just for abstract display, that's great.
I need my save space.
Oh my God. Let me grab J. Scott Garibay.
Nope. Nope.
Yeah.
If I could step back a little bit on what you were saying before, there's a couple things you said before I forget them.
Please.
There's one, I think, Garrett, you said this. It was about the description was missing from the gameplay whenever we used, well, in your case, miniatures. Well, guess what? I play a lot of online games and I like to use tokens and maps and everything else. And when I first started using this stuff, all right, the first thing I noticed was that, wow, I don't have to describe anything anymore. And it kind of threw me off because I like describing what the characters see as they enter through the portal, And that was missing for me. And I started thinking, you know what, guys, let's not use the maps. So let's just use them for combat. But let me describe to you the moving through the dungeon caverns and so on and so forth. We tried that. And you know what one player said to me? He said to me, I can't follow this. Don't you have any maps? This was supposed to be like a computer game. wow.
I mean, if that's your players, you want to do what's best for your players at the table. That's for sure.
That was one player that said that, and I actually got kind of ticked at him that he said this. I don't want this to be like a computer game. No, please don't say that. So I kind of pulled away and tried running the game Theater of the Mind, and it was okay. But I went back to using the tokens, but I have a different way of doing it. Instead of having all the characters on the map, and they all click on their token, and they have line of sight based on, their light source and all that. Instead, what I do is I have a party token, and I put that on the map, and everybody can click on it so they can see what they can see. I pause the game so they can't move it.
Yeah.
And only I actually move the token. If a combat breaks out, I use their marching order. I put them where they're supposed to be or whatever, and we fight out a combat, and they could move, and we fight it out that way. That seems to be like the best alternative. It allows me to take advantage of the maps and let them see what their tokens see based on line of sight without them running around the map board willy-nilly like a computer game. And that helped a lot. But that's something unique to playing online, really.
Yeah.
Something I noticed. But yeah, that's what I wanted to comment about the description.
I'm still an online virgin.
You are.
Somebody's going to clip out the word online and then put it somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Shadzar has a question for you, Mr. Fritz. Did you use fully color printed maps?
That's interesting. Right now, we're using fully colored maps of my own design, as well as from various scenarios I'm playing. But the old school stuff I want to run, the AD&D second edition and the BECME, I want to use those black and white maps or even the blue maps and really have that old school feel.
Blue maps, yeah.
The blue and white maps, oh hell yeah.
Yeah.
It might be a shock to a few of my players, but
See, then you need to add to the group, designate one player, have the group designate one player as actually a mapper, and don't tell them anything.
Yep.
Now this is how you play.
We're playing.
Yeah.
I would clap for you if you did that. I would just do I would do that as a minimum. But I've been running a campaign module lately, and the players are going through it, and all I'm doing is sketching out the exploration side of it until we get to a battle. Then I start decorating the battle mat, because I use a battle mat in camera. And I'll even have like little grid lines with like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 over the grid. And it allows the players that are not at the table to be able to at least be able to see what's going on and have an idea. But I hate the video gamey feel of it, to where you can analyze. I just go 4 squares up and to the right of diagonal, and I'm in a prime position. I don't like that myself, but that's the battle mat and the battle grid.
Well, to be fair, if you're playing online, you almost have to do that. Even I have to consider that.
Yeah, and I can't stand that. But I had a player move off to West Virginia, and I haven't found a person that can replace him yet. I mean, and I'm not looking for a replacement for Chris. Chris is a great friend. The online allows us to still be able to play together. So we have the battle mat, and that works for that. In a perfect world, I would rather have a bunch of players at the table with measuring tape, and they have to declare first, then measure. I think that'd be the best. That would be the best solution for Bruce. I'm not against online play, but I really don't like it, because to me it feels more realistic at a game when things go awry, or we've got a moment where we start to talk. Half of the game is socializing anyway. So how was your date with Stacy? That sort of thing. And my group, we're about 40 somethings. So most of us are like, how's your doctor's appointment? The priorities of life.
How's your doctor's appointment is a question you do before the game starts and after the game ends. Otherwise, shut the hell up and focus on the game. That's my game.
That would be perfect if I could have everybody involved with that. Unfortunately, my brain tangents and I go squirrel.
Attack it. Then start rolling d20s and attack the squirrel.
Yes.
See, I've never I don't have
Oh
that
no,
problem.
squirrel.
My players are they know when the game starts, it's all in game. There's none of this excess talk outside of the game that happens all of a sudden. They stay in character and they play through it. Now that said, we spend about an hour before a game where they can talk about whatever they want, and I sit there and prep. This is online, but I've had no problems with that at all. And also, I should comment that, and this is for you, Max. I have also run a lot of combats where there is no grid and it's all theater of the mind. I still do that even online with Pathfinder.
Really?
A perfect example is when my characters, 2 of them, decided, hey, you know what? Let's go off the grid here and explore the town of Otari. Let's, not follow where we're supposed to go and do something else. Let's explore that old ruined tavern on the west end of the town that's said to be haunted. And I wasn't prepared for this. They did. And the entire session was improv. And there was a combat, there was a chase, there was no grids, there was no tokens, nothing.
Did it work smoothly for your group?
Perfectly.
Oh, that's awesome.
But that said, I also do the maps as well, which is you kind of have to with a dungeon crawl, because it's constantly moving from room to room, and it just makes sense to do it in that way. But the other combats are usually in the woods or in the town, and it's a little free form. So it works.
To be fair, I would use a map necessarily for all of that, as much as I could anyway. I've got my vinyl maps and so forth, just put stuff on there. I guess the point that I'm going to stress really hard is that I just do it abstractly. In terms of you're about here, you're about there, you're about there. How many feet away am I from this? I don't know. You're not a tape measure. You see what I'm saying? It's like, so it's not people like, I want to take a 5-foot step, but that's the problem is I don't know about Pathfinder 2nd edition, but like 1st edition and D&D 3.5, which I've probably played the most when it comes to battle maps, require that. Wait, I have reach. Is he within reach? Is that a 10-foot? Like, I don't know. Yeah, sure. What, I don't like thinking about mathematics unless I'm playing a game like Battletech, Warhammer, etc. I like thinking about what's going on in the scene. Actually, it's old parlance, but it's new to me, is rulings, not rules.
Today on the stream, I actually explained how we used to run combat in D&D, basic. Theater of the mind, how I would, as a DM, would keep track of where everybody is. I mean, if you remember, you guys, whenever an encounter happened, especially a wandering monster encounter, you rolled to see how far away they were. And that became the basis for how far away you are in terms of, I have to move before I attack. This is the range band that I'm at. If I shoot, that was the basis for the whole combat. And the DM basically kept notes like, John the Barbarian just moved 20 feet forward. So he's about 10 feet away from the kobold. He knows this because he writes it down, or has it on his map. But there was no grid. There was no miniatures. There was no things moving around. You could use them as an option because it's always been an option. We all know that. I used to use dice for my miniatures back then.
Dice, coins, tokens.
Whatever you can find. The fur ball the cat threw up the night before. Perfect monster.
Oh, look, a slime.
That's an Otyug.
Yep. but yeah, that's how we used to do it. And that's still the same exact way I do it today when I do Theater of the Mind.
This is for you because we were talking about it the other day.
There he is.
I still have my my Battletech.
Yep, that's them. Put him in the little plastic thingy-majiggy. There he is. Good to go. Don't need no damn miniatures.
Shadzar, I began my love for this stuff because my dad had me raised on an HO scale train set. I miss that. I miss that basement life with that train set. That was a good place to go to and turn on the Tycho transformers for about a half hour and run them around in the ovals and try to do yard operations. That was my thing. I'll shut up.
I don't want to derail things, but I am curious. This has been bugging me ever since you said it, Jim. Fred, sorry, but so are you no longer doing the Rule Cyclopedia game? Was that like just one and out, or or are you trying to start a second one?
Right now, I'm running Pathfinder 2E
Mhm.
campaign, which will probably last about a year. Ideally, I want to have a second campaign, which is going to probably be BECME, Rules Cyclopedia. I've got a few players lined up, and we'll start off with one-shots and hopefully a campaign set in Mystara, playing some of those old modules like Night's Dark Terror and things like that. But I'm still planning that. And what's after that, or in addition to that, it could be, God, I don't know, man. I'm
I heard you want to learn how to play Earth Dawn.
Yeah, that's in there too.
There's a growing group on Discord that wants to play Earth Dawn.
First edition with fourth edition mixed in, right?
There you go.
Right?
Close,
Right.
yes.
Close enough.
Do you guys? I'm gonna trigger something that Shad's are like. Oh my god, I remember this. But back in '97, I went to the Chessex Open House, and I went there in Fort Wayne, Indiana. That was the first time I ever sampled Honey Brown the beer, which is my favorite, absolute favorite beer, still to this day. But we were there with a bunch of industry insiders, and there was this lady, and I'll even go out as far as say she was really super attractive. She was the head of FASA at the time. And Watsy...
Dawn?
Is that her name?
I'm trying to think who was ahead of FASA at that time. Anyway, go on.
Anyway.
So I'm trying to figure out who it was because I was... I'll shut up.
My inner Jeremy Clarkson says doesn't matter. She's there, and she's like, right now Random House is trying to buy TSR. They're trying to smash them, and it wouldn't be good if you're playing this game in 2 years and you're trying to find books that aren't there. Have you heard of Earth Dawn? And that was within the first half hour of arriving at the Chessex Open House. And then every other game company creator came up to me. And just like these YouTubers that whenever George Lucas's wife slammed the prequels and the sequel trilogy, they said all this stuff is shit. I swear to God, all of the creators, Earth Dawn, you had the people from Palladium, you had every Tom, Dick, and Harry that wrote a fantasy RPG. Have you ever tried Pendragon? Everybody out there was trying to solicit all of their fantasy RPGs to us. It was great.
I mean, the 90s were kind of the heyday for that of new innovative stuff. I'm not saying that there isn't a lot today, but in my experience, the 90s was where a lot of the innovation happened.
It was.
For a lot of the traction took hold.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that was like a 3-day. We were there Friday through Sunday, and we left. And I was a poor man at the time, and I was driving a Fiero. We packed that Fiero with so much merch out of the.
So $5 worth. Got it.
Yeah, exactly. And we went there with everything we could pack in. There was a game for the miniature market called Flintlock, which was very short-lived. But the presenter for that was really cool. He was from the UK, dressed in full regala from the 1700s. Flintlock was colonial Americana with goblins and other fantasy races on a miniature table.
I remember that. Alternative Armies, wasn't it?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I have it.
A great game. It just died very quickly.
Yep, quick death. They usually do die quick.
Hey, Bone, how are you? It's just a shame that a lot of that stuff didn't stick. And worse yet, the acquisition for Wizards is what really killed Dungeons and Dragons.
Well, I mean, define killed. I mean, I agree sympathetically.
Financially, it blossomed the brand. It made it into a juggernaut that today is the lone stalwart in the entire industry. Congratulations, Wizards of the Coast. I must say that. But there's no soul in it. The people that were in second ed or the latter half of second ed writing for third ed, like Monty and Skip, Jonathan, those guys are gone. They're doing other stuff because they're probably not welcome. And they're not even old dudes. They're regular guys in their 40s and 50s. Some people call that middle age. But heaven forbid they share their ideas and put them on paper for game theory. No, we got to have this blue-haired land whale with a liberal arts degree and no talent destroying a good franchise. Oh,
well,
shit.
That's because every game you made was racist. Stop it. Now, all those miniatures you paint, they're all racist. I bet you they're all white guys. And if you paint them black, well, then you've done blackface. You're bad. Oh, I scared off GM Fritz.
Okay, he's back. He just had to vomit real quick. I can't believe I'm in this room with all these Trump people. Wow. Just kidding.
Well,
Stop. We're down. Our subscribers are down. I'm sorry.
But you mentioned that, with, like Monty and stuff like that. I mean, I was at Gen Con this year. It was my first time ever going. And I went over to the Cipher System area. And Bruce Cordell was actually there explaining to people the background of the system. That's something you will not see with any of the other, with WotC, Hasbro, whatever you want to call them. But you will not see that. Yeah, I mean, you will not see that. I sat there and listened to him for a while, and the passion that he has for that system, I actually picked up that, and then I found my bane of my existence, which cost me like $500 the first time around. Luckily, it wasn't that expensive this time, which was the new Catullus book to go along with the Cipher System.
How do you like the Cipher System?
I have not dug into it too deeply, but from what I've been reading, it's very interesting.
Where I'm from, the word interesting is like when people down south say, bless your heart.
Oh,
well, Max, bless your heart.
Yeah. I get that a lot down here. And then I just go in the Uper accent. Oh, that's such an interesting thing to say there.
Oh, you betcha.
Why do you all sound so funny down here? I was told by one person, I said, the next time somebody comes up to me with such a deep drawl that I can't understand him, I'm just going to go full Uper on him. Like, you probably get punched. I'm like, yeah, probably will.
Oh, trust me, I do call center work, and I swear that some people from the South, when I'm talking to them, have marbles in their mouth. It's just horrible.
What do you mean with marbles in my mouth?
We just lost half of the country worth of viewers right now. Good job.
Oh, you're welcome. That's why I'm a mod. Oh, I mean.
So,
Yeah, weren't we supposed to be talking about painting and miniatures?
we were, but in all honesty, I mean, you're going to vacillate from miniatures back to game, back into miniatures again. Like, a lot of us use the miniatures like just as a battle mat decoration. And as much as I want to say I'm a good painter, I'm not. I'm a horrible painter. But like I do have figs that are good for battle mat usage, like the stone giant here. I mean, it's in pretty decent shape. Could it be better? Could it be museum quality? Absolutely. But there's no need for me to do museum quality because I know at some point I'm moving out of this apartment. And two, I'm probably not going to be the final person that handles that. Somebody else, one of my DM friends, one of my player friends, somebody, after I get room temperature, which almost happened in August, somebody's going to be like, in the will, who gets the miniatures?
You know what's really friendly for moving? A folder full of minis.
You know what else is friendly for moving? About $3,000 worth of labor and a big truck. But I'm just saying, probably within the next year I'll be getting out of here. And that's the only negative about the miniatures is that they're not portable. You have to really pack them carefully. Even especially these. These are a friend of mine printed off Skeletor. Yeah, Skeletor flipping off.
So when you compare your game time, like I don't know how busy you guys are in life, and this isn't any sort of accusation or care about your family life and so forth. But I'm curious if you like GM Fritz, for example, just because I watch you paint multiple hours a day, plus you're running a game, plus you have to put the time into thinking about what you're doing for running the game and so forth. When you put your mini time compared to your game time, how does that compare? Outside your commission work, of course. I'm talking like your personal stuff.
Outside of commissions?
Yeah. And same with you, Bruce. Like since you paint a lot of miniatures and so forth, like if you run a game, say one game 4 to 6 hours a week or whatever, how much do you devote to painting also?
I'll do about 2 hours every 3 nights. So maybe 6 hours of painting for me.
Okay.
There'll be nights where I don't get home on time, but I usually will do that. But for game time, like I only run every 3 Saturdays right now.
Oh, fair.
And so, my friend Chris, he's got a game, and his is every 3 Saturdays, and I have one Saturday out of those 3 that's generally free. And so that's time usually that I try to devote to making sure the girlfriend is relatively happy. I need her to be happy because I don't want her to be unhappy. You know how that is. I don't ever want to have a problem with Noro. I want to make sure she's always pleased with me.
With Noro?
Yeah, with your wife. Is that your wife's name? Okay.
That's her online name. Yeah.
Okay. Then I got the person right. I got the name wrong. So
no, what I heard was that you always wanted to please my wife. I'm like, what?
No. I want to make sure that I never transgress because we've got you in a stream. And instead, she's like, I bought this lingerie for you. I don't want to have that. I don't want to have the angry wife at like the friend gamer group, because like heaven forbid we take more time out of your home life than what we already steal. I'm on Discord. Let me type Max a message and he'll think about it for 30 seconds, but he'll obsess about it for the next 2 hours.
You know me so well.
I'm sorry. Actually, I just got that out of Heathen.
But just to keep it here, GM Fritz, like how much time do you put in that? Because the Indigo Dragon has a great follow-up question if Bruce can highlight that.
Yeah. I'll let you answer this first, please.
Well, I have nothing against pre-painted miniatures as far as that question's concerned, but I love painting miniatures, and that's my thing as a business as well. So yeah. But to get back to what you asked there, Max, first of all, you got to understand that as a business, talking about that side of it, I put in a certain number of hours every week, and I keep track of my hours that I put in. And as long as I make that minimum, I'm free. I could do anything I want. So that's where I find time to do other things. But that said, as far as gaming, I usually have 1 to 4 times a month is fine with me. And sometimes I'll break that up with different games. And that's where I'm at right now as far as playing role-playing games. And as far as painting my own stuff, there's something that's tricky. Because, there's this guilt that can take you if you're sitting there painting your own stuff, knowing full well, hey, wait a minute, I could be painting that commission. I don't feel so good right now. And it's hard. But what I do, like I said, I keep track of those hours that I spend in commissions. And as long as I get my minimum, I can do whatever I want. That's how I can find time to paint my own stuff and feel great about it and do things.
And if you love it, you probably don't feel like it's either a time sink or a time waste or whatever, because you're still doing something you absolutely enjoy.
Exactly. I get to paint what I love to paint, whether it's a commission or not. I only take commissions that I really enjoy painting, for one thing. But yeah, it's all good. So,
Bree, that's true. You'll find a lot of people that they don't want to pay the $40 price for a single character figure. You got a 28 millimeters of well-painted figure, cost you $40. Okay, well, what can you do for $5? And I give them like a WotC mini from like 2006.
Just no, hand it to me. Hand it to me. I'll paint it for 5. Dip it, give it back. Roll it in some mud for texture.
we have some sand from the frac site just outside. It's good.
That's for the base.
There you go.
Yeah, it's the thing that like miniature painting is a really relaxing thing. Fritz does it as a business, maybe full time or part time. It's still a moneymaker for him. I do it because it keeps people alive around me. Because for some odd reason, this is a very therapeutic thing, and it's really weird. But I mean, like, if you've ever sat down with paints and figurines, you have no idea how relaxing this is, especially when it's just you in the headspace or whatever music or show you've got on in the background, and you can see the figure's details coming to life with every stroke of your brush strokes. When you can do that, when you can actually start seeing the effects of what their life is like as you paint them, that's when you start really getting into it, and you're doing really just a hobbyist's work at that point. If you so choose, when you're able to start doing the details, the finer details, like a little bit of rust on the buckle, or maybe this leather is a little scratched up from battles it's been in, you probably should ask Fritz to help you get.
Well, to battle damage my battle mechs, we put firecrackers on them.
You do.
That's serious. These things have been painted for over 30 years. Like, I don't think that paint's going to come off ever.
And it's like a friend of mine who has miniatures going way back. Literally, if his house ever caught on fire, it would have to have a toxic cleanup because of the paint, and so they're lead.
I think actually miniatures. 4 of those are actual lead, if I remember correctly.
And he actually does do the airbrush for the actual primer, but then he'll set and paint them. He was an engineer. He's disabled due to it was a issue with his back that came from his military service, and that's one thing that he can do is set and actually paint miniatures.
Yeah,
and of course, he's got like every army that you can believe for like every game. Every game.
Alternative armies, alternative everything.
He'll even go so far as to make it so like with like Warhammer figures where they have different arms and stuff like that. He actually puts in the magnets so you can swap them out. Same thing with like the tanks, like Lehman Russes and all that. So he gets a lot of different uses out of it, but he has that time, and that's something that he enjoys and he finds very enjoyable.
Yeah, that's the main thing about mini painting is that for me it's just therapeutic. After dealing with argumentative customers or slow pay, no pay people all day.
Who argues with somebody who's cleaning up their own crap?
Yeah,
I never argue with that person.
I had a lady today that I had to track down at her job because she hung up on me when I asked for the credit card. And so I Google, drive, arrive on site, and talk to the supervisor for a moment, showed him the invoice. He points me out where said employee is, and I had to walk over to her and be like, "Hi, I need to get your credit card information right now." And my boss asked me, he's like, "That was kind of stalking, don't you think?" I said, "Excuse me, we're talking about $900 here. What do you want to do?"
Change.
Yeah, that's. I mean, that's not chump change, but I mean, for just a septic tank, a simple 100 or 1,250 gallon clean out, and it only cost me 45 miles of fuel. I'm pretty okay with that. Sorry.
I'm not going to argue with anybody who wants to put my house out when it's on fire. Somebody's going to clean up my trash, or somebody who's emptying out my shit container. I am not going to argue with those people because they can do some bad stuff to me.
Well, and like I myself, I work for a cable company. I'm not going to say which one, but I work for a cable company. And you would be surprised how many people call in and just start going off about stuff. And I'm like, I have all your information right here in front of me. I have your name, your address, everything. It's like, and you're gonna come in here and just act stupid. You know, it boggles the mind sometimes. Just, I think what it boils down to is that we have been trained that if we're rude and abrasive toward people in customer service type field, that I'll get what I want faster. That's not how I work. If you do that with me, this is what we have. I get a little old lady calling in and saying, I just need some help. Okay, here's the farm. You know, it's all about how you approach that. But that's me.
I try to be polite with people, and I'm a different person at my job because I'm not speaking for Bruce. I'm speaking for my job, and I'm interested in getting as many. God, I hate to say this online, but I'm getting all the shit tickets I can for my 8 or 10 hour shift, and that's my entire goal. I need the most amount of dollars for the shit tickets I turn in, and that's it, you know. And the happier I am, it seems like, or at least the more honest I am with people, the better I do. And I think that's the main thing that it carries into a lot of aspects of life, just being honest. But it's weird because some people will request for something, but they don't want to have to literally pay that cost to get it. And that kind of reflects right back on the mini painting. This would be a $5 deal. You got a dog with leather straps on it. I mean, it's perfect for your attack mini that you need.
I don't know. I know some people would pay pretty well for that.
Shadzar's over there.
No, so I mean, I actually kind of brought that up on Jim's Alcove today. Like, I was just curious what it costs for to get some minis painted and so forth, just like a rough estimate. And it was great because when I was listening to him talk, I was like, it brought me back to my graphic artist days. Because like, you know what, you're right. There's so, I didn't even think about it. There's research involved, especially since you do historical type stuff. So research involved. You got to figure out what they wear, have it done accurately. And for somebody like me, that would be very important. If I played those games, that's absolutely what I need. I'm like, holy crap. Yeah. That was like when I used to bring customers in the back to where, when I was a graphic artist, because you can't get this done in a half hour. Come on back. And then have them sit down next to me 2 hours later, like, man, I got to go. Okay. I get it. Can you get this done in 3 days? Sure. 3 days, you know, stuff like that. There's a lot more involved than just putting brush to metal.
That's true.
GM Fritz.
Yep.
Say somebody gives you this miniature here. This is a 4-inch high mini, including the axe raised high. Resin figure, so you don't want to be throwing it around and slamming it on bricks. How much would you generally charge for that? And I'm not talking museum quality. I'm talking more table quality.
Well, I can't say what I would charge. That would have to be an actual commission, but I can give you an idea.
Okay.
And just that one single model, basing included, that would go for probably about $50 plus at least. And it could be as much as $100 if you're looking at a museum quality.
Okay.
And that's just the one model.
Can you do me a favor? Because this is funny because this is what I asked earlier. Some of the things that you talked about, what I don't want to talk about your work. That's not fair to you, but like what you do, like the historicals and so forth, that the effort that goes into that and the considerations that people don't understand, especially outside. We're not, obviously we've got hobby painters here. Bruce is hobby painting right there. You hobby paint on the side, but like for the commission work, like some of those intangibles people don't think about. I mean, you were mentioning flags and all this other stuff that people just don't see or consider.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a whole lot more to it. The one project I'm working on now, it's 10 millimeter. So they're like they're smaller than half-inch tall. They're tiny. It's an entire core for a certain set of rules called ESR. It's Sans Resultat, which I pronounced wrong. Napoleonic rules. And it's about 300 figures in number. And that in scale represents a corps of Russian Napoleonic soldiers. They got some cannon, which represent batteries. They got a lot of infantry. They got a Jaeger corps, which are the rifle-armed light troops, the hunters, if you will. And it's a nice mix of soldiers that come in a box. It's already done for you. It comes with the flags. You put them on yourself. You cut them out. So a lot of the work is done for me. I just got to make sure I base them according to the rules. I got to make sure that is done. It comes with bases, so I don't have to worry about that. The uniforms, that's where the research comes in. Now, I happen to be pretty knowledgeable on Napoleonic uniforms, particularly the Russians of the 1812 period and on.
Очень хорошо.
As well as the French, same to you, as well as the French and their allies and so on and so forth. So my clients know this. And again, I'm fortunate because they put a lot of faith in me. They know I'm going to do whatever research is required, which usually isn't too much. It's top of my head, whatever. I got books, I got online stuff. So they have a lot of faith in me that I'll leave it to me. It's not like they come to me and say, hey, make sure you paint the trousers this color and make sure you put stripes on the left side of all these coats, which are French colored blue. They don't tell me how to paint, so I'm fortunate with that. Yeah, what exactly was your question? There's a lot that goes into it.
Right. Just kind of talking about, since this is a minis episode, just kind of talking about some of the stuff that goes into it that people may not understand. Because I've asked a couple friends of mine to paint things in the past. Like if I were to get some minis, I do actually have some naked minis that, I don't, and they kind of said the same thing you did. Like, oh, dude, that's gonna be like $100. $100. This thing cost me $7. But because I didn't realize a lot of that goes into that, into what people need to understand, and also the time commitment. That's another one. Watching you paint. Of course, I sidetrack it. Sorry, but
you do 6-hour streams.
That's all. Hey, to be fair, I sidetrack Bruce when he's running his Pathfinder game too. So I do it to everybody.
12-hour game sessions.
Yeah, right. But you put hours into that, and to me, you get really far. I couldn't imagine me. Like I'd have one mini with a shoe painted in 2 hours, and that's about it.
It takes, it just takes time. You get good at it after a while, like anything. It's a skill, But
right.
Yeah, there is a lot that goes into it, and I usually paint armies as opposed to individual models. Like Bruce pointed out, that one model there, that for me to paint that, I would probably price it higher than usual, simply because I don't paint single models, and I always paint at the same standard. I advertise it. I say I always paint at a level that's slightly above tabletop quality. I don't normally do anything better than that, although sometimes I do anyway. My friends, or I get carried away as I do because I love it. But I don't charge people for anybody beyond that. And because I paint in mass whole armies, like I was getting at, 300 figures, core, all that, I price things based on that. If you said to me, hey, paint this 4-inch Minotaur with glaive and whatever else is on him, and it's really detailed, I'd know what it would cost to do it, considering the work and the research, if any. But I would price it a little higher because I don't do single models. That's biting into my real money, my real time that I work at. And, that's just, I don't normally do that. So it costs a little more. There is that.
That answered everything I wanted to ask. I took over Bruce's show. I'm sorry. I'm going to shut up now.
You're fine. And if you want to talk for 5 minutes and have a point or 2 or 3 points where you illustrate why you feel that this style of playing or that style of playing is superior, I'm going to give that to you. You're a panelist on my show. Secondly, I don't have to refute everything you say. If I agree with part of the things you say, I'm going to tell you I agree with that.
I think one of the things we found out over time is that we all generally agree. We just do it differently. It's like, it's okay that you guys play with miniatures. I play with miniatures. I promise you, I do play with miniatures. I just use them differently.
Well, the miniatures are supposed to facilitate play. They're not something that you have to have in the game. It's always been that way.
Thank you, Garrett.
And so there's nothing wrong with, the way you play. If you want to use the little card standees, they facilitate play as well. That's fine.
I'm surprised Shadzar didn't yell at me because I always call them minis still. And he's like, those aren't minis, they're standees. Shut up, they're minis.
Pawns.
Yeah.
I call them pawns.
Ghetto minis.
Pawns. I had the Goblin Warren, what was that? Remember back in 1992 or 91, basic D&D was reinvigorated with a black box, and then they came out with like box sets with like an undead or an undead themed adventure. Then they had a goblin themed adventure. They had a dragon themed box set, and all three of these box sets were they were pretty much Monty Hall campaigns. You get like 6 magic swords out of each one. 2, they were interesting because they had good maps. They had good fold-out maps for mini and standees play, and they had a bunch of standees. Do you guys remember those, or am I the only one that wasted his merch money on that?
I didn't waste my money. I didn't buy them.
Okay.
But I remember them.
My problem with minis has always been they've been too expensive. I'll be completely honest with you because statute of limitations over. Of those 8 BattleTech miniatures that you probably can't see up there, 6 of them were stolen when I was 16, 17 years old. If you're on my Discord, Von Zark knows he was there. So I mean, they've always been, to me, they've always been price prohibitive.
Shadzar, clip that shit.
Yeah, come after me. I will tell you exactly where I stole them from too. The source comic and games when it was on Snelling Avenue in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
He almost dropped into his Minnesota speak.
Oh, yeah, it's right outside the university there, Yeah, but I mean, I was 16 and I was poor, and I've got echo going on now.
Yeah, I hear it too.
If anybody's
I'm
watching,
hearing it too.
Yeah. No, I mean, but that's the thing. They were always, and then when I was in like the Air Force and so forth, I spent all my money on books, not on the minis. So like somebody else said earlier, I would use tokens, pennies, dice, whatever. I mean, I liked using dice because I could just put the hit points on there. Oh, a D20. Okay. It's got 14 hit points left. Just put a 14 up there. Just little random things you learn how to do when you're really poor. So cut out pay. When we played Warhammer Fantasy, when I was getting into that, my army was Bretonia. I actually went to the printer, cut out 1 inch by 1 inch squares, actually little fields that had the squares on them. And I used paper, said, these are my knights. These are my, yeah. I mean, I couldn't afford that stuff. So. All right. I guess I ended the conversation. I didn't mean to do that.
Well, they're still saying there's an echo, and I'm not hearing it now. So
Bruce muted. Maybe I got too excited for his speakers.
Test.
Loud and clear?
Yeah, it's Bruce.
All right, we took over again.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right.
What?
I have the echo mitigated because I'm wearing my earbuds. Granted, you guys can't see that, and I have the computer close enough to where my earbuds are not stretched out to their max. I'm happy.
What?
Max asked about narrative and battles, and he said he kind of knew the answer already for me. If you've watched any of my bat reps, you'd probably pretty much know that. But I was in a conversation with someone who was a role player, as am I, of course. But he said to me, I love your battle reports, and I can see the value of being into role-playing games because you show it in your battle reports. You're descriptive. You describe the cuirassier rushing up over the hills and chasing.
There's also a certain energy in your voice. Honestly, there is. There's like a certain energy in your voice as you're describing this stuff that just adds to that flair as well.
Oh, thank you. That's. I'm glad I'm a GM. That's helpful. But yeah, that's how I do it. And when I play my games, whether it's solo or with friends, actually it comes out more when I'm playing solo, believe it or not. I can get into the narrative. I could see the purpose in the battle and why they're fighting, and I could see it come alive. There's this term that I use in wargaming, that I say your tabletop becomes a moving diorama. It's a living view to an actual battlefield. You're seeing it, you're witnessing it, you're seeing the heroic moments, and it comes alive. You can choose to see it, or you could just ignore it and roll your dice. And I think there was a conversation you had, Max, on Legion of Myth. You were talking about just that. You had mentioned, everything you do in the game is done with a dice roll. You can choose to make it, to see the story behind that dice roll or not. And I never forgot that, because that's exactly what I was saying, is that you could choose to see the drama unfolding on your tabletop or not. You could ignore it and just look at math and roll the dice and, play it almost like a tournament player would. Or you could choose to look at what's really happening on your tabletop. This is a real battle. For me, it is. It comes alive. And getting back to miniatures gaming, or not miniatures, get role playing. I've always felt that if you were going to use miniatures in your role-playing game, you should do it at key points, key moments that really bring out that drama that's building up in the adventure. Set aside some time to sculpt some terrain. The Cavern of Doom, where the dragon is nesting over its treasure. Sculpt the treasure. Make it all look like it would look in that final battle. Paint up the models for the characters if they don't have them, and set it up for an actual battle, that high point. Have the terrain, have the models, and just showcase it, and let it become a visual experience for people. And hopefully they'll become more immersed and not distracted by the miniatures. They'll get sucked in. But that's for a key moment, You wouldn't do that all the time. I don't think you could. That's a lot of effort. But that's what I ideally like to do with a role-playing game. Those key moments, let's set it up as like a miniatures game almost. But that's what I like to do. And that's how the war gamer inside of me comes out in role-playing games.
See, I've been a firm believer when you're playing the game, it needs to be a role play instead of a role play. ROLE play instead of ROLL play. Because you have, and granted, we have all had people at our tables that are there because shiny math rocks roll, and you know exactly who I'm talking about, because every single person has had them at the table. But you also probably equally as much as had the people who are there for the story and like what Fritz was saying, getting into the story. And, miniatures can be a tool that you use to bring that story in. But overall, if the narrative that you're giving needs to be able to draw them in order for the miniatures element to work correctly.
I think the miniatures element can enhance it, but shouldn't be the end all be all. And that's where I struggled with 3.5. The one time I played 4. I never played 4. Never mind. 3.5 and Pathfinder is the way it is played is it doesn't pull you into it as part of the overall. I'm going to say some words that are going to offend some old school people, but the overall narrative, the overall story of what's going on here. It was played as, like you said, shiny math rocks, let's roll. It's just, and if I wanted to do that, I would play the Warhammer Fantasies. I would play the War Machines or BattleTech or something like that. I play those games differently. I add a little bit of role playing into like the BattleTech side of it, but that's just for flavor, not actual gameplay. When I'm doing the role playing, when I'm doing Dungeons and Dragons, when I'm doing Earthbound, when I'm doing Palladium, etc., I want the miniatures there to enhance what's going on, but not turn into calculation fest. I don't need to take my SATs while I'm playing a game.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting to me that I see crossover here, because as I said, I'm a war gamer as well, and board games and stuff like that. But there's in wargaming, there's an issue with players who play more about the the game. They play the game instead of playing the story, the battle. Like, for instance, a tournament player compared to someone who likes to play the battle. It's a scenario battle. It actually happened. It's a recreation of an actual battle, as opposed to a competitive player that, they buy their army with points and play on a equally laid out table. There's different types of players.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing in role playing. You get players who are these power gamers, or they're all about min-maxing, and they don't get into the story. They don't get into the role playing as much as the others would. And my point is that to pull it off, like if I want to use miniatures like I described in a game, you really got to be fortunate to have the right players who can see it. And it's the same thing in miniatures gaming. If you're around the right people, you can really get into a narrative game. Mm-hmm. When I was playing Warhammer, oh my God, there was 2 people in our little group here that were so competitive. Screw the story, screw the scenario. We're going to build killer armies, and when they played each other, it was like, wow, I'm leaving the room. But I would never play a game with them because of that, because I never played that way. I just want to build an army that makes sense and put it in the, a campaign type of thing. Mm-hmm. And I always avoided playing them. But it's just the players. There are different types of players out there, and you kind of want to gravitate to the ones that match your style of play.
And that's the benefit of the hobby growing over the years too, is I don't want to, obviously the recent events, last year and a half, 2 years is a little different, but generally speaking, the hobby grew to a point where you can find the people that you want to play with for the most part, which is a good thing. So yeah, done. It's going to ramble, but I won't.
Also, the thing is that when you're also a GM at the table and you have those min-maxers, I also feel that it's up to you as a GM to try to, yes, that's fine. You have that character that's a min-maxer, but to draw them into that story. Because that is, what you're there to do, is to tell the story. And, you want to draw them in because they may actually wind up going more with what the narrative of the story is going to be by you drawing them in too. So it's kind of, to me, it's kind of a two-way street. You don't want to exclude some people, but you want to be able to, as someone who's running the game, be able to bring those people in and have them be a good part of the entire overall, story.
So I make themes. So if I'm making a type of character, I try to make a character based around a theme, not min-max it, not find out what the best solution, what the best synergy between my talents, feats, skills, whatever your game, system allows in there. But I want a character, and just make life easy, I want a character that throws fire at everything. I just want to be a fire wizard, or fire elementals, whatever it happens to be in your game. So I'm going to pick a lot of fire spells. Now I realize that the game master is going to counter that with like, oh really? That thing's immune to fire. Things like that. But I still have my theme that if it can burn, I'm going to burn it up, right? I like doing things like that instead of trying to find the perfect, what is the perfect math here? And I can't deviate from this, because I understand there are people who do builds. Let's use Battletech. Let's go back to Battletech. If anybody's ever played it, I've said this a million times in streams. You're going to be bored of that I'm saying it again, but anybody can build a mech better than what's given in the technical readouts. Anybody. Ever. You read those mechs, you're like, what kind of garbage is this? But that's the fun to me. I don't like building mechs. I know everybody can build a better mech. I've built thousands of mechs. I don't think there's any combination that hasn't been done that I haven't made at some point. I love grabbing the TRO, saying, I fight for this house, you fight for that house. Let's find the mechs that support that house. And there you go. I've got my Vindicator, my Cicada, my, whatever, I'm not going to read them all off, but I got my House Liao units where you're running over there with your enforcers and battle masters from House Davian. Let's go at it. Let's play that way. Well, this mech sucks. It heats too much. Well, I'm trying to play something that represents the game. See, that's the whole, what they call it, some people call hyper realism or internal consistency or whatever. That's the stuff I need for my enjoyment. Your mileage may vary. You might just want to find the best. God, I already forgot what you said. Math rocks and roll. Trying to remember that. I like that.
Shiny click clock math rocks.
Yeah. So I mean, and GM Fritz, it sounds like you could get me into miniature games the way you described it right there, because you're kind of not you, but using the opposite mentality is one of the reasons why I never got into Magic the Gathering, because everybody played so competitively. I didn't care to drop money on a stupid card game. But I did have some friends that just, well, they knew how to play casually. So we'd go over there. Back when I smoked, we'd go over there, smoke and drink, and shoot the shit, and just throw some Magic cards down, and keep our hands doing something while we were just talking. But very rarely did I have anybody like that. It was like all competitive, and I don't know. Let me make a deck full of zombies. Does that work? Well, it's a dumb deck. Yeah, but I want to try it.
Mm-hmm. That's what got me out of Magic the Gathering. I played it in the beginning, and because it was so competitive, that's not me. That's not my style. So I got out of it. And that's pretty much a reflection of all my games. I'm not really a competitive player. My God, you know what Advanced Squad Leader is, right? Have you heard that? ASL?
I love ASL.
All right. Well, you're either really into it or you're a casual gamer. And if you're casual, boy, do the other guys pounce on you. If you misterm something, they jump right on you.
I found that with the Warhammer community.
Mhm.
That's one reason why I don't make ASL videos. I play ASL, but I'm considered a casual player. But man, if I get something wrong in my video, they pounce on me. Oh, it's called preparation fire or whatever. It's not what you said there. That's wrong. It's a very technical game. It's like people that play that game are like chess masters. It's that kind of a game. It has that much depth. And, I don't really fit in with that crowd, I guess.
ASL's crowd here in town is super exclusionary.
Yeah.
And I hate to say that, but ASL, the mindset around that is that it used to be a fun game to play between two teenage kids in the garage when it first came out. It became a hobby game that was played at stores and Gen Con at Essen. And now it's kind of, I hate to say past its prime, but Memoir 44 kind of took over. And it just feels like that's the big game that everybody plays instead of playing ASL. Most of the old people I know that are wanting to play ASL.
I'm sorry. Well, I don't know what ASL is, but all I'm thinking is back to the old AOL days when it's age, sex, location. Sorry, I don't know what it is. That the last time I ever heard that term is when
Advanced Squad Leader.
Oh, okay. There we go. I got it now.
Put it to you this way: it's one of the most technical and complex board games you will ever find. It's one of them, if not the most complex game. It comes in a binder that's like this thick.
Yeah.
With all the rules, which you'd never use. You'd never use all of them, but it's really detailed.
It is a mechanical nightmare game, and I would compare it to like all the books for Pathfinder, GM that was a living computer, or a Mentat for you Dune aficionados. Yeah. Or I mean, ASL is like for Pathfinder, literally what that is. And it looks like when you watch people play casually, it looks like fun. But when you have two guys that have played it for 30 years and they've played it too much with each other and they know each other's tricks, you're watching a stalemate in profanity. That's all it is.
So the only game that I played that meets that criteria is back in the 90s. One time I played Federation and Empire. If anybody knows what that game is, most god-awful Star Trek game ever done. Takes like 3 hours to do one turn. Like, no, I'm never playing this game again. It's like, no, really, we can finish it this weekend. I'm like, the hell we are. I'm not playing this game over an entire weekend.
Hey, G-Rock, wasn't that the game that Zach played us? What was the Star Trek game?
That was
Federation Battles.
Yeah, Starfleet Battles is different than Federation and Empire. Federation and Empire well, nowadays it could probably go a lot faster because we have like computers and weird things like that can track a lot of stuff for you. Holy crap, man! Like
that's the one where you had to plot every every instance you had to plot your warp, your energy, all that stuff. It literally
all your fleets and
yeah.
We
Yeah,
never
the only
done-
thing
never again.
when anybody brings up Advanced Squad Leader, the only thing I can think of is going back in all the books and trying to figure out everything for Hackmaster. That rules wise, that's what it reminds me of.
I like Hackmaster. I like
Yeah,
Hack.
well-
it's,
Yeah,
it's not about like, it's about the overall density of
You're
it, I
also-
think.
Yes.
Yeah, you're also a sadist, but that's beside the point.
We're going to 20th level, you fuckers.
And I can get away with that because I've known Bruce for over 20 years.
Damn near. You're getting close.
Awesome.
Yeah, we are getting close.
Yeah.
Is there anything we haven't covered for miniatures yet? That because I don't know what to ask or what to talk about for miniatures. So I mean, you guys do all the painting, and I'm sitting here just waiting for you to try to berate me some more. Still haven't succeeded yet.
I mean, they enhance our game, so I think most of us would say that we use them because they enhance our experience. But you have there's an entire market. There's an entire market that popped up because of it, and thanks to the GW and Frostgrave and other miniature games, we have those. But I really don't know where else to bring to talk about that. I am actually thinking about opening up a link and throwing it in the chat. If anybody that's in the chat wants to come in and talk to us about that because they feel that they have more to say about miniatures or that game in general, I'm actually thinking about doing that and just opening up all the way, if you guys wouldn't mind.
That's up to you guys. I've got a half hour before I've got to turn into a pumpkin.
Yep, same here. So, but one thing that I will say is that it has gotten now with technology where the miniature side of it is actually getting cheaper because people are putting up like the 3D printables where they can print them themselves, do all the cleanup and do that. I think that also you're seeing a lot of the miniatures companies having issues with trying to keep afloat basically because of the 3D printing.
Well, we're waiting for people to come in. There we go. That's a great question, I think, because I'm asking it for you guys. I remember back in the 90s, one of the things that would get you in trouble is having plastic miniatures when other people had metal miniatures. Is that still a thing, or does nobody care anymore? Because now with all the resin and people printing stuff out, I don't hear anybody complaining about plastic miniatures anymore. But holy crap, when I came out with like 3 plastic miniatures one day, oh my God, get that plastic out of here. What's wrong with you? Like,
Link is in the chat if anybody wants to come and talk about tabletop gaming and miniatures and such. That's our tonight's topic. To go on your point, Max, the back in the 90s, yeah, everybody had metal figs or lead-free pewter. That was Reaper's that was their big selling point. They had a really nice lead, and they came out with the P65. And Reaper, for those who don't know, that's a company out of Denton, Texas. I'm not saying yay, Texas. I'm just saying they're a good company. And if you don't know who Reaper Miniatures is, you probably would be impressed with their work. With that said, Reaper came out with a series of figures after watching other companies do it. And they really made the miniature hobby market affordable.
Bones.
Yeah, Bones came out. And they made it to where instead of you paying $8 or $9 for a figurine that was made out of lead-free pewter, now you're paying $2 or $3.
Yeah, and they're nice. They're nice too.
Yeah, you can get some good detail on them. Like I'll just show off. This is a standard GW elf fig from the 1990s. Let me see if I can. Yeah, there we go. And
calm down, buddy.
Camera, come on, work. Camera. Okay. Well, anyway, I'm still painting this guy, but a Bones figure. And I'm still working on him, but you can tell with the shading that was going on with the primer aspects of this, you can see that this and the GW fig, this is a plastic, but they were selling these for $20 at a store up in Illinois. Okay. This guy here cost me 3.
Mhm.
It's a samurai. Okay. Bones figurines are super cheap. And as much as all of the 3D printer people are talking about how much they love the 3D printer, I think it's great, but there's a joy to be had to take a road trip to a game store or go down to your FLGS, your friendly local game store, and to look at the rack of miniatures they're selling. As much as I love the 3D printed stuff, because this is what my friend Chris, who plays in my games, has sent me, and I'm painting up the Dungeon Master now. He sent me some really nice figurines, but they've cut out the middleman. And as much as people are always talking about, oh, these jobs are lost, I really don't want to be responsible for a hobby store closing because instead I bought a 3D printer. And I know for a fact I would be that jackass. You think I have a lot of miniatures now? Wait till I get a 3D printer and I start just the conveyor belt. While I'm gone, this thing damn near catches fire.
You know, I used to feel that way, but I'm also a person of convenience. And let's be honest, the blacksmith, you know, they still have some exist, but yeah, they were put out of business by the automobile. It's just the way nature, you know, you have to progress with the times. Like I'm not trying to be a jerk to comic book store owners or gaming store owners out there, but unless you're going to deliver to my house at a price that can beat, you know, the Chinese slave labor market, Jim Fritz, blame the Chinese.
Screw the Chinese.
Or screw the Chinese. There you go.
China is asshole.
But you know, but I'm just going to be 100%. I actually got some hate. Actually, Heathen Dog got the hate, but I took it, you know, my channel, because he's one time said, "Hey, go buy this at Amazon because everywhere else is too expensive." People are like, "Don't you dare! You can't be gamers and buy it from Amazon." Oh, shut up! Yes, I can. I'm called Poe, P-O, because I can't even spell poor.
I was poor for many years. Garrett remembers those days. I was super poor. I didn't even have internet in my apartment. Okay. Just to,
Dark
I mean,
times.
I had a PS2 and an Xbox, and everybody else had a 360 and a PS3. And I didn't even have internet. I didn't have interwebs. I had a flip phone. So, I mean.
Oh, if I could get by with that, except for my job, I'd have a flip phone too. I don't text message. I'm not a 12-year-old Japanese girl. I don't need all that mess.
But I love the 3D printed market. Don't get me wrong. But I like the people at Reaper. I guess I'm too partial to them. I'm on their Discord. I talk with them a lot. But I haven't gotten into the 3D printing market because I don't have one. They look nice. You can make some great stuff if you know how to do the models. Do I use Reaper's paints? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I use Reaper's paints.
You like them?
I love Reaper's paints.
Really? I think they're a little bit too thin for my use. Okay. But that's a personal thing, you know. You might prefer the thinner paints, but
I don't mind doing 2 or 3 layers of paint to get it right. I've used a lot of Citadel in the past. Yeah, I have a lot of those. I've used a lot of Citadel in the past, and those have too thick of a pigment, or a pigment on that is just way too gloppy, and I have to thin it out almost.
I will say one thing. I used to be a huge Reaper paints fan back in the 90s, and they used to come in jars like this. That's a Reaper paint from back in the day. These were fantastic. They put little skulls inside the thing, and you'd shake them up, and they're in there. They help mix the paint, little skulls. But this is when the paints were really good. They were a lot more opaque.
Mm-hmm.
I think the ones they have now are a little bit too thin, at least for me, because I prefer a Vallejo paint that's a little thicker as we get into the geeky painting stuff. Yeah.
Hey, it's a painting stream. I mean, that's what we're supposed to do.
I know everything. I know too much about paints.
I don't know enough about them. I used to use Vallejo, but then I switched over to Reaper because it's just easier for me to drive to the store, and everybody here is like, "Go Texas!" So let me buy all your Reaper paints, and that's pretty much how it works. I mean, I've got the Dragon's Lair just across the street. I've got Nightwatch Games, which is the 2019, probably the last year that Gamma was worth a shit. 2019 Gamma Retail Store of the Year. And if you guys are in the San Antonio area, I'm going to plug for Night Watch Games, because you've got two very big fluffy dogs that are damn near wolves, and a very nice pair of people that's running the store, and they are just sweet people. They have private gaming rooms, but they have a retail area that looks like an old Germanic inn, old Prussian style almost. And it's cool. For a gaming store, I've never used the word, this is a cool gaming store. I've never said that. Usually it smells like desperation, maybe a few Newports, mainly virginity. And this place, it doesn't feel like that. This place, it feels like, you have more than your fair share of the fair sex walk in, and there's plenty of women that go there for ladies' night when they have
we still talking about miniatures?
Yeah. But I'm talking about Night Watch Games. I'm plugging for them because they have a Reaper paint section that dwarfs, and this is going to probably get them in trouble, but it dwarfs their GW section.
Come to Night Watch Miniatures. We have hot chicks that walk by.
Yeah, I mean, dude, they had a girl in there once with a fucking, what is that? The TARDIS? She had a TARDIS dress that she handcrafted. And I'm like, not only is she hot.
Bruce, we call those moo-moos.
No, it wasn't a moo-moo. She had a nice figure. She was svelte, and she had perky boobs. Not what we usually see. Anyway.
That's a glass bottle of Armory paints. I think Shadzar mentioned that. Hey, I have some glass bottles of Armory paints. That's them right there.
Jeez.
These paints, as far as I was concerned, were a bit too chalky, too flat. But yeah, I have some of these too. The Armory, of course, was a distributor back in the day down in Maryland, I think. East Coast. They were a big distributor.
Their big competition for merch space in the Dragon magazine was War Games West. Hey, Matt Crafty's in here.
Wait, War Games West. What? Stop.
Do you remember War Games West in your Dragon magazine?
Well, yeah. I mean, I used to play at War Games West in Albuquerque.
Okay. They used to have a half or full page ad in Dragon magazine.
Oh, yeah. I did go over that one time. I was like, hey, I played there. Yeah, if anybody was there, 93 to, no, when was I there? I guess end of 92 to beginning of 94. I played at War Games West in Albuquerque. Y'all hated me.
Looks like Matt Kraft and the OGGM are going on lunch date tomorrow. Sweet. Should be a fun bromance. I love those two guys. The OGGM is making me laugh with this new video.
OGGM makes the worst fucking quality videos ever that get views. I'm jealous. If I made a video like that, I'd burn it. But he's happy doing it, and he's getting views. So more power to him. That's awesome. It's like, these are best practices of how you should make videos. He's like, nah. I want bad lighting, horrible audio, don't have shit to talk about, but the same thing every day. But you know what? Let's do it. And he gets views. I actually love him for that. It's a jealousy thing. It's kind of funny. It's like, damn it, I put a lot of thought into, maybe not in the content, but into at least my setup or something.
He just has the algorithm figured out.
He's got it down. He's got the science going on. I watch his videos and I'm like, oh my God, that's funny. And then who is that? Rob's Games? Or
I want to watch his, but he smacks his lips when he talks and makes me want to kick my cat.
What type of brushes do you use? What type of brush? Yes, sir. You were showing off the paint bottles earlier, and I want to know, you use like the $3 brand from like the Broken Artist Studio store, or do you actually like go pay for like a $6, $7, $8, $10 Armory or Reaper brush?
Oh, I make my own.
You make your own?
Oh, wow.
I'm only kidding. Cat hair. No.
So you got a camel in your backyard? What?
Rob's Games. Yes.
I use, believe it or not, I use the cheapest brushes you can. If they go bad, you throw them out and get a new one. They're cheap. Why not? The most expensive brushes I've used, not a Winsor Newton, which is top end, and a lot of my friends swear by them, but the Armory paint brushes, I think the Regimental one is a nice medium-sized brush. I've used that quite a bit, as well as the insane detail brush, which I've bought several times. They tend to fall apart on me a lot sooner than I'd want.
Yeah.
But I find that just if you know how to keep a point on a brush, keep your brush clean, and maintain that point, you got a good brush. It doesn't matter how cheap it is. It's all about that point.
I did a video about 2 months ago. No, less than 2 months ago. And it was about the things you would need to paint. And one of the things that I think everybody needs is they need a brush cleaner. This is just a giant bar of soap that you rub your wet brush on, and then you go smash it around in the water dish and get it clean. But if you see one of these at the hobby store for less than $50, this was, I think, $35.
Yeah.
This is a great deal because I've had it for over 7 months, and it hasn't really shrank that much. I'm sure you could probably use a bar of ivory soap to do the same thing.
Here's my collection of cheap brushes.
Yeah, I have something kind of like that. Let me get out.
I love it when I hear people who do this stuff either for money or just do it really well. By the way, great cup there, Bruce. I love that cup. But I love seeing that instead of got these little purists out there like, if you don't spend $75 on a brush, you don't know how to paint. Yeah, the people out there actually making money and doing it for real. Like, what is it? Like 52 cents.
Yeah,
really. I almost Garabayed there. If you don't play 5th edition, you're hurting the hobby. Sorry. The bad thing is I just heard a Baptist groan from the gamers department of the United States and the English speaking world because they heard me say that. And
subject for another video.
Yeah, he the low T.
Stop
low
watching his crap. I'm that guy that's saying don't watch his crap. Stop listening to him. What the fuck, man? I had him in the stream one time and people started blaming me for this shit. Like, you're the one that got him started. I didn't get him started on his shit. Dude wanted to talk smack. He came on the stream. I was like, okay. What's his name? Joe from Biggest Geek has shot him down. Aaron's Pedantic sat there as well.
Thank you, Joe.
Things. And then all of a sudden the shit is still going on and people are making videos about him. Why? Who cares? He's got like 5 fucking followers, and I'm not judging his channel size, but we've now given him like 200 followers. Like, stop it.
True. It's true.
I it's Max's fault. See, look, I think the guy can spout out whatever nonsense he wants. To me, his nonsense is so far over the top, I can't even find it funny. It's just like, whatever, dude, keep doing that. You are absolutely insane, and anybody who watches that knows it.
I used to read the Hackmaster 4th edition Game Master's Guide for humor because there was so much it was like screaming at you like Lewis Black, the comedian. And it would do that for pages on end about how you need to ruin the players and make sure that they don't have a hope of survival or success and just make them fight for every little copper and scrap of experience points they get.
Sounds like you're talking about my game.
So you do that, and for years, since 2001 when I read the GMG, I thought that's a cool idea, to have a book where it just tells you, it knuckles it in your head, you're gonna do this, blah, 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 blah. And then we get a DM, a guy that says he's a DM out there, and he's almost quoting verbatim the stuff in the 4th ed GMG. And I'm sorry, Kenzer, I know we don't talk much anymore, and I don't mean to send you hate by saying this, but he's almost quoting verbatim your text. So when I finally hear somebody say that, I'm like, oh God, this is terrible. This is festered into something we did not foresee. And I want to shut down the entire experiment. I really do. I'm sorry about that. But I didn't mean to go off on a tangent there on that one especially, but it's nice for me to get a couple extra likes for the hatred. Thank you for the hate clicks.
Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to roll a D20. J. Scott Garibay.
No.
I'm citing that for him because he's the one that said, oh crap, I just unplugged my headset. He's the one that said that the Gygax statue should be larger than the Statue of Liberty. It's like, what?
let's not forget the most important game is about ready to roll out with its 8th edition. That's Castles and Crusades.
Yeah, we're gonna. That's the one winning on our Discord right now of the 3 that you can choose from: Castles and Crusades 8th printing, Adventure Sorcerer. Adventure Conqueror King, or who's this one? Adventures Dark and Deep are the 3 options for our next series, and Castles and Crusades is winning right now.
I like Castles and Crusades. I really
I like the system.
I like the system. The people that are behind the system are nice. They're not playing a personality game like I'm really an asshole. They're not doing that. They're nice people. They will sit you down, and within minutes you've got an elevator pitch and you've got a couple options for a character that you've had in your head for years, and you roll with it. And
what we liked about them is that, you know how we're tearing up Battlelords right now for the way they wrote the book? Yeah. We kind of did that with 7th printing. Like, you could just tell they're either 2 different editors or 4 different authors. Like, it's very inconsistent writing. They're actually really cool about that. Like, we recognize in 8th printing we're going to do better about that. Like, awesome. Okay, move ahead.
Yeah, and I haven't seen your Sunday stream yet. My phone is in a septic tank right now, and work danger. So anyway, I have to get a new phone here in another couple of weeks. I'm not worried about it.
I've got about 10 minutes left. Just interrupt there. I've got about 10 minutes left. So if anybody is going to come in, or if we got things to do, let's knock them out. I mean, if you guys want, I just say I've got 10 minutes left. I don't care how long you guys stream.
Yeah, but let me put the link in the chat again for anybody that wants to jump in. Open forum. You want to talk about miniatures, especially? We're talking about miniatures and gaming as a second. And I will be more than happy to welcome anybody in here and say their piece on things.
I cannot wait until I have my user lose leave. Oh, the end of November, beginning December. GM's Alcove, if you go on break there, I will stalk you and hunt you. I will stand outside your house with a megaphone and interrupt you that way.
Matt Kraft, that is the best thing I've seen in a long time.
Oh, he left a message for him basically saying that. He's like, here, I'll help you. I'll help you get the help you need. But here's the thing. I mean, he could be doing it for clicks. You know, people have said a lot of stuff about Legion of Myth. It's one of the reasons why I toned some stuff down after about episode 9 or 10 or whatever of RPG Digest, because people started saying some weird stuff about us. So I toned it down, and then people got mad at me. They're like, dude, we were here for your rants. I'm like, make up your mind. Trollers game is the best trolls. There you go.
Well, I'll tell you what, I saw his video that he made 3 days ago, was it? And I watched it. He was driving in his car as usual and talking about D&D as a lifestyle and all this. And I kept thinking to myself, because I've known him for years.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I kind of get the idea that he's doing this on purpose. He's talking this way. He's saying these things to get subs or clicks or what, because it just doesn't make sense. This guy's an absolute fool and has become even more of a fool recently. Ever since that episode, I couldn't believe he showed up on your episode. I said, "Oh my God, this."
I didn't know who he was. Honestly, I didn't know him from Adam. And he was talking. And look, here's the one thing. And I've actually got some stuff in the works to maybe cure this. But I am not I wish I could watch that video. I'm just gonna say it again out loud. I cannot watch Rob's videos. I want to watch it. Everybody keeps pointing to me. You got to watch it, but he smacks his lips when he talks. I'm sorry. Look up the word misophonia. Just look it up, or sound sensitivity disorder, and that's why I can't watch him. No offense to him, but I can't watch him because he does just like Mike Zimmer, the coach of the Minnesota Vikings. I can't watch him talk either. And I love the guy, but
I like Rob.
But when he came on, or after people are like, you didn't know this history and you didn't know that history, I don't care about the history of the people behind it. That's the thing about me. I play games to play the games. I can tell you some differences between basic, first, second edition. I can tell you all the differences between first, second, third, fourth edition Earthdawn. I can tell you, how Palladium's changed. I can tell you how game systems change because that's what I paid attention to. I didn't pay attention to the people behind them. I've heard that Kevin Simbita is an asshole by some people, but he's never treated me wrong. And I've had some emails with them. So I don't know if that's true or not, but people are like, you should look this up, and you should know these things about the people, the history of the games. No, I play their games. I don't care what they do in their lives. And so, yeah, I mean, so I'm kind of sitting there like, sure, maybe Gygax did believe that. I don't know. Luckily, Joe was there.
I
Full of it.
I remember a saying that my mother used to say all the time: don't get involved with the musicians that make songs you like. Appreciate the art, but don't hang with the artist.
Because you'll always be disappointed. Yep.
Yeah. And that really is true. And about every workspace there is. You know, if somebody's really good and they've got a lot of stuff out there, that's great, but rarely are they a good mentor. And Kevin Sambata, I've met him before. He was pleasant to me. He let me look at the new West book before it was published, and he had it in a giant, like an ASL binder. So, I mean, you know, it was like right there in 97, and they just came out with the Coalition War Campaign. And I told him, I said, I really want you, when technology gets a little better, I want you to have somebody read this speech for the Coalition War Campaign, because I think this would be a great way for someone to kick off their game, to have this. And just, you know, we're all part of the coalition. We're all bad guys. And we're unapologetic about it. And I thought that would be great to have that as either a kickoff to a campaign where either you're all part of the coalition or you're part of the Federation of Magic. But he's like, I don't want to do that. That's more work than I want to do. And I'm like, I don't know how much work that really entails. It's a recorder and maybe a couple glasses of wine for somebody, and they go.
That's the problem with all of this stuff. Again, talking earlier, you know, all the stuff that goes behind painting miniatures, or when I was a graphic artist, like a lot of people are like, how much do you do for Legion of Myth? And I'm like, do you know that those thumbnails I make usually take me quite a while to find all the stuff? Well, I can make them in 5 seconds, right? But I have a graphic artist background. I move things 1 pixel because they don't look right. I mean, the research that goes behind stuff, then you got the taxes and the advertising and the stupid social media that I can't stand whatsoever. Like, I want to burn it all down because I hate it, but I have to be there, you know, and all of that stuff takes time. And I mean, so I can maybe understand his point, unless he had somebody else run it. I don't know how much of a micromanager he might be, or how much he feels that he would have to be in charge of that production because it's his name and so forth. He might not have the time. I mean, he just hired that guy to change everything over to Savage Worlds. That's rumor. I just made up some not facts right there, but that's my take on the situation, because he's a guy that's coming from Savage Worlds, and he finally has basically somebody to work with him.
The last person he had work with him was CJ
Eric.
Corella, wasn't it?
Oh, I thought it was Eric Wujcik.
Yeah, my bad.
Yeah, who died in 2007. And I only know that because because my Palladium game of choice is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and Eric wrote it.
I met Eric at Carbondale's convention Egyptian campaign in 97 and 96. He was there. And he was a real pleasant guy. Like, there was a retailer there that he had these gigantic styrofoam castles with the battlements and everything. And I forget what his name was, but for $125, you got 6 castle walls and 5 towers, and you got a gatehouse. And Wujcik came over and sat with us and talked with us for about a half hour to 45 minutes. I did not know who he was. And those two talked shop about Gary Gygax. Now, back in the 90s, not everybody talked so politely about Gary Gygax. So you got to hear the dirt about him. And it wasn't until the 2000s where, like, Gygax and William Shatner were looked at more fondly, and they weren't talked badly as much. I know that sounds really weird. But like, there was like the gaming press at the time that I read. There was a... Well, now
Shatner's everybody's enemy again because of woke culture. So, you know.
Well, yeah, but I don't. Okay, I don't care about woke culture. I don't at all.
All right, I'm gonna have to bail on you guys here, unfortunately. So
that's fine. We are at the 2-hour mark, and Max, before you head off, could I have you just give some polite adverts of the Legion of Myth channel and what you do?
We are on YouTube. Just you can search Legion of Myth, or it's youtube.com/c/Legion of Myth. You can find our back catalog of videos there. You can go to our homepage, which is legionofmyth.tv. Yeah, I'm not even going to give out my social media because I don't care, because I don't like social media, and you'll actually probably want to contact me there. We have a Discord channel, and it's got a bunch of letters on it, so I can't remember that. But yeah, it's in the links to the video. It's in the links of the videos. But on the YouTube channel. But other than that, we do segment 1 is fundamentals, where we do an overview of a game. We talk usually nicely. Battlelords doesn't agree, but we usually talk nicely about a game. We go over it. We either do a fundamentals or an overview or even a read through of the book. So we cover many different games in that regard. In segment 2, we go a little bit more balls to the wall, have some opinions about things. Who, me, an opinion? Who'd have thunk? And then in segment 3, we bring you in, and that would be on RPG Digest every Sunday at 1 p.m. Central Time. Oh, so look at that! You're covering GM Fritz. You should be covering my face. Gatekeepers.
That was me.
Oh, there we go. Good job. Okay, hold on. Gatekeepers.
Gatekeepers.
God, break it up. Okay, still.
Okay.
Oh no! It's GM Fritz that's doing it. Oh, okay. Never mind. I thought Bruce was doing it.
No,
That was me. That was
Okay.
me.
He did it. That's him.
All right, guys. Well, I want to thank the other 3 who are here. Thank you very much. I look forward to next week if I'm there. If not, maybe Heathen Dog, or maybe we'll just watch that one because we got a bunch of Gatekeepers. But thank you all. I'm glad I finally got to be on a show with GM Fritz and the Baron G-Rock. You guys have a great night.
Take care, my friend.
Does anybody, now that Max is gone, we can talk mad shit about him. Just kidding. And if you talk mad shit about Max, I'm going to school you pretty hard. But I got to ask, is there anything that we need to cover as far as miniatures are concerned? Because I think we've covered a majority of things that I wanted to talk about. And if you guys have something you want to add onto that, that'd be great.
Well, if Garrett's got anything, I'll add a couple things, but
Please.
just to be complete. But Garrett, if you got something, shoot, go for it.
I'll be honest. I've been out of doing miniatures for quite a while, just because I haven't had a space. I now have a space where I can kind of do it, and other things. Life happened. The human malware happened, and yeah, I just have not gotten back into it. But yeah, I mean, I've done quite a bit of painting myself for what was the name of the dang it Privateer Press's game?
Oh, you're talking about either Mercenaries, War Machine, or Horror.
War Machine. War Machine. And I, back when it came out, I was running a full Merc army. I didn't attach them to anything. I actually ran a full Merc army. So that was kind of where my little heart was. But basically, you don't have to, if you're wanting to get into the painting and whatnot, you don't have to, you're not going to be Picasso on the first one.
No.
It's going to take time. You're going to learn things. Watch videos. There are plenty of them out there that, will go into, how to do the wash, how to do, the pinstriping and things along those lines, the little fine details, if you want to get that down into it. There are also, for me, going to, like Bruce was saying, go to your local game store. People that actually, are into, the miniatures thing, and talk with them. A lot of times they're going to give you great advice about how to even get started. They're going to give you now remember, they're also going to give you their opinions on things, and, you may not always agree with everyone's opinions, but it gives you a place to start, and then you can kind of find your own way that way also. That's really all I've got.
True. I could just add a couple things just to be complete with the episode, I guess. But
that'd be great.
Just little things I thought of before the stream, maybe would want to touch on a little bit. Again, just to be complete. But go ahead, Bruce, if you've got something.
I really do not. I I was expecting somebody to jump in if they wanted to talk about miniatures or painting or a game where they use figs or a game where they didn't. But that didn't happen, and that's fine. This is a channel that doesn't have a lot of subs, and I kind of gatekeep myself and I don't grow as much as probably should, but that's a personality problem that I have. But I definitely, I've been growing pretty good for the past year. And Garrett pulled up Social Blade not too long ago on me, and it's like, you're actually doing pretty good. Just keep doing what you're doing. So I'm doing my best on that.
Yeah.
But I know that over the course of time, like this show, Gatekeepers, if we keep doing round robin materials, it's going to expose everybody here to other people in the hobby. And that's just going to be a natural growth. That's going to be a natural exercise of growth. And I think as we each do our own streams and we host, I think we're going to get better at this craft, because I'm still getting used to having co-hosts. And I apologize if I step on anybody's talking.
You're fine. I sub to you. So
Appreciate
I'm in
that.
there.
Thank you.
I enjoy it.
And
I had to.
Yeah. You had no choice.
Yeah.
Thank you, Garrett.
You're welcome, man.
But anyway, as far as I could come up with, I think the miniatures side of role-playing games, it's not for everybody. You fall into one of three groups when it comes to miniatures in a role-playing game. You're either into the tactical side of the game, and you like to have something to represent your positioning on the battlefield, and that's where miniatures can come into play. Like, Max was talking about Pathfinder and 3rd edition D&D just kind of push that whole idea. There is that. There's the tactical side of it. Maybe you're into that, and miniatures would be useful for that. The other element to it all is the immersion of it. For some people, miniatures can be they can add to the immersion of your experience in a role-playing game. For some people, not everybody. I'm not sure why that is, but some people are into the miniatures and other people aren't. It's like some people are visual learners, some people are audio. I can't explain it. It's more of a distraction to them. So I guess from that, what I'm trying to say is that, you don't have to be into it. You're either into it or you're not. And you don't need to be into it to fully enjoy the game. I enjoy it. I add it when I can. I like the visual aspect. It is immersive for me, not a distraction. So yeah, it's not really for everyone. So don't feel bad if you don't get into miniatures. Oh my God. But that's fine. And but if you are interested in exploring it and adding it to your games, I think you should, and give it a shot. You don't have to paint top notch. Paint to the level that makes you happy. That's what I tell everybody. You don't have to paint to Games Workshop standard quality, and get the most out of it. If you want to go further with it, like Garrett mentioned there, you can do so. There's videos. God, my channel's all about painting, and people ask me questions all the time. How do you do this? What's pin washing and all that kind of weird stuff? Man, my channel talks all about that kind of stuff.
What is okay? You just gave me a term that I've not heard, and as much as I'd like to be an intermediate painter, I'm still a beginner.
I know I shouldn't have said anything. Pin washing is what you commonly do with vehicles like tanks and armor. It's where you get literally a pin of a wash and get it in those little cracks and recesses, as opposed to just pouring a wash or just brushing it all over the vehicle. You get it in these little crevices. They call that a pin wash.
Okay.
That's essentially what it is.
I do a lot of washing like that with my figs.
Yeah.
I do a lot of inking and washing, and just let that liquid just run right in, and hopefully it stays there. Hopefully it'll keep. But yeah, I didn't realize that was what that was called.
Yeah, the whole idea is you don't want to get it all over the vehicle. It's literally just for those little,
Just for the little crevices.
yeah,
Little-
between plates of armor or something. And they call it a pin wash.
Huh.
I do it occasionally. I do a lot of armor, but I don't often use pin washing. I think I used it once on a Hind, which is a Russian attack
Russian tech
helicopter.
helicopter. Yeah.
Yeah, and I wanted the model to look clean. I didn't want it to be dirty, so I'm not going to wash all over it. So what I did is I used pin washing just to go into where the doors are and the hatches, just in those little areas to make them stand out from the otherwise camouflage pattern that it has. And it worked pretty good. So that's pin washing.
How long have you been holding up the brush? How long have you been doing that?
Since before I was a teenager.
Okay.
Yeah, really?
So I don't feel bad for being, I just saw your YouTube, click on one of your streams there for a second, and holy cow. So, but you've been doing it for a few years at least. I just got into this in 17.
I think I first started painting model kits, Airfix models with testers paints. I was talking about that today in my stream. And that's way back. That's back in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And I eventually moved on to try all kinds of different paints, stuff I didn't even know I should be using, like oil paints that you use on a for artists mat. I was using on miniatures, and it just took forever to dry because it's oil paints that you get out of a tube. But I was doing that. I didn't know better. And eventually got introduced to acrylic paints. Hey, this is new. And that's the rest is history. But yeah, quite a while.
Yeah, I tried using the apple barrel paints out of Walmart, and that really didn't do me any favors.
The old 99 centers.
Yeah, and I understand why they're 99 cents. I get it, but boy, you get what you pay for.
Yeah, you do. I was talking about that as well. And I think it was Sheds showed me hey, you can get these for 99 cents. This is where you should get them. My advice regarding craft paints is some of them are good. You can use them with miniatures. Most of them you can't, and I recommend mixing them with, say, Vallejo paints just to improve the quality, and they're useful if you do that. Otherwise, reserve them for terrain and buildings and stuff like that. They're really not the best quality, but they do work, especially if you mix them. But yeah.
I don't hate on Vallejo, but you have to do, like with Reaper paints, you have to do sometimes 2 or 3 layers to get the desired outcome. And I know that Citadel is working on getting their contrast work to really to be a higher quality, because I've seen a lot of people bring in stuff at the stores and it looks okay, but I think with a different paint it would have maybe popped a little better. That's just my own personal opinion. There's some Citadels that come out really good, but to me it's not hit. I think they've got another like 4 years, and they're going to find some magical formula because they've got all the marketing money, and they're just going to have this huge paint line come out, and it's going to be the best paint we've ever used. As much as I like Reaper, they're going to be second place till the end of time.
Interesting.
All right, Bruce, real quick, I do need to go ahead and jet.
Okay. Garrett, you want to pick your channel out there a little bit?
Yep. You can find me at Twitch .tv/BaronGrock. I'm a variety streamer. I typically do a little bit of MMO, a little bit of survival, a little bit of everything. So I will be on tomorrow doing a little bit of New World. So if you're interested in that game, it's one of the newer games that have just come out. It is an MMO. So, but yeah, I'll be on tomorrow, and I look forward to seeing you guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for showing up tonight, Garrett. And I appreciate you being here. It's always good seeing you.
Yep. Holla at your boys later.
Later,
Take care.
sir.
Take care, my friend. But GM's Alcove banner. Where's my little Gatekeepers thing for me that he made? I was going to put that up after I leave. I don't know where it is, but anyway, yeah. As the only thing else I could say about the miniature side of it is, folks, give it a try. You know, it could really add to your game, but realize it's not for everybody. For some people, it's just distracting. You know, a miniature fully painted on a paper gridded map doesn't look very exciting, honestly. But if you take the time to add some terrain, like I said, those pivotal moments in a story, it can be worth it. It really add to the immersion considerably. And like we've said, you don't have to be a pro painter. Just, you know, you could even use some pro painted, and if you not pro painted, those pre-painted figures like WizKids heads. And my advice about that is, if you do get those, all you have to do is use one of those washes, like from Armory, like the dip as they're called. Throw a little strong tone wash on it, or a light tone. You're good. And there's all that depth, and the figure looks fantastic. You don't have to paint it. Yeah, I say give it a go. It's worth it. I love it.
Cal brings up a good point. Always thin your paints. Yes.
Mhm.
That's pivotal for you getting it properly applied. I think we're at the end of tonight's stream. We still have 7 people in chat, and I really appreciate you being here with us. I've heard so much about you, and it was a pleasure, and you definitely lived up to the hype and exceeded it. So I appreciate that, Fritz.
Awesome. Thank you.
I
hope to see you again.
It's the same. Hey, Biggest Geekus. Hello.
How you doing, Biggest Geekus? Love your channel.
Yes, I started listening to your work today. It was nice. It was good, concise.
Mm-hmm.
It's different. We talk about some streamers that don't have a point, or they have a bad point. Then you have guys like Biggest Geekus and Biggest Geekus. If people aren't subscribed to Biggest Geekus, you really should subscribe, because if you're into gaming and the game mastering craft, you really want to pay attention to what happens on their streams. Yep. And you want to listen to those guys. They're fun people to listen to. They're good guys on panels too, I might add.
Yeah. And I loved him when he was in the episode with that Garibay guy. That was great. I loved it. That's when I looked up his channel. I got to subscribe to this guy. That was awesome.
That was good.
But anyway, let's not talk about that guy. That guy's a fruit loop and a half.
No, only watch Garibay off of Archive. That way he gets to click money.
Yeah, and big advice, folks. Don't look at his videos. I'm telling you, he's doing this stuff just to get the attention. Yeah, it's crazy stuff, man.
If you like my stream, go ahead and give it a like. Mr. GM Fritz, do you want to talk about your lovely YouTube channel?
Well, I was going to put up a little picture for everybody where to find me, but yeah, you could find me the GM's Alcove here on YouTube. I do painting streams 1 to 2 times, 5 days a week, and usually for 2 or 3 hours. And if Max joins, they sometimes go 5 or 6 hours. But it's great conversation. I paint up stuff. We get things done together. If you guys want to join me painting, you can do so. I sometimes have guests, and we talk the hobby, wargaming, board games, and of course role playing. And it's good fun. That's my main channel, the GM's Alcove.
I'm going to show this to everybody. That way you see what you get there. GM's Alcove, Game Master Fritz. Awesome. When you say Game Master Fritz, are you referring to a certain Ralph Bashki movie?
Nah, I play chess. I'm actually a grandmaster.
Oh.
No, I'm only kidding. If you're in the chess, you know that somebody that has a GM in front of their name, they're a grandmaster.
Yeah.
I get that all the time when I go on chess.com to play. No, I'm not a grandmaster. No, it's Game Master. Game Master Fritz.
He's got playlists of D&D 5th edition, Pathfinder Lost Omens campaign, 2nd edition Pathfinder, RPG talk, gaming reviews and flip throughs and unboxings, and
Lots of
some
those.
basic uploads with lots and lots of views because he talks about everything from painting to a game room tour, which
Yeah.
that would be fun.
Mm-hmm.
And
And if you really search on my channel, you'll find a ton of miniature war games and board games. I usually don't make them the main focus of that channel, but they're all there. And if you are interested in that stuff, like some of my bat reps and me playing various games, historical and otherwise, with miniatures on beautifully laid out tables, my other channel is called A Dash of Elan. And I don't promote that channel, but I put all that stuff over there as well. And it's all it is. It's just board games and miniatures games and paint and chats with other historical type gamers and that kind of thing. You can look that up too if you want. I'll be willing to share that when I get around to it again as well. But yeah, you can find that on the GM's Alcove too. Playlists of various games, miniatures based.
Shadzar has your link for Twitch if you guys are enjoying Twitch.
He does. He's been pushing that lately. Thank you, Shadzar. I appreciate that.
I love having Shadzar in a chat.
Yeah.
He's in my Discord, and like 2/3 of my players are like, he's on the SJW alert, isn't he? I said he reports everything, every bad idea that comes out of some shitty gaming theory tower. Shadzar jumps on it and he packages it in a nice bow and gives us a link, and he does this wonderful job. I love having him around. He's literally just a fun guy to listen to because, well, not listen, but watch his text because he's not got a good microphone yet, but we're gonna eventually take care of that or help him out with that. And I can only imagine I'm going to be listening to a guy that he used to program for like Unix computers, and he knows the guys that ran Atari in 78 and 79 right before the big video game fad came out. You know, Bushnell's probably got him on a Rolodex somewhere. And that's just in my head how Shadzar is. He's just one of those cool older guys that's got like all this. He has a HayPad containers. He doesn't have like a storage unit. He has a HayPad container full of old stuff. And like he's just like, we need, if this guy's complaining about something, listen to why he's complaining. Ask him how would it be done with common sense, and let him vent it out, because he'll explain the whole process to you. And it probably won't be pretty to you because you're new. You're less than 35 years old and you have no idea what this world's about.
Yeah.
Sorry. But Mr. Fritz, I appreciate you being here tonight. Chat, without you guys in here, we would be just talking to each other and the walls and trying to smile pretty for nobody. But we definitely appreciate you. And Shadzar, he just said, I prefer to drop news for people to read than make a video on every damn thing. And that's great because, like, a lot of things he points out, like Clownfish is already making a video on it. And 20 hours later, it hits the YouTube. And I'm like, I already read about this. Thank you.
Yep.
Fantasticals. Yeah. I appreciate you being here. And I will shut the stream off. Everybody, have yourself a great night. I feel really blessed for having everybody in the chat that I did tonight. And I want to thank you all so much for showing up. GM Fritz, Max, and Garrett, thank you for showing up. And for everybody else,
you did great.
See you. Thank you, sir.
Toodaloos.